Today we are going to be answering the age-old question that I know has been burning in your brain forever. That is, which Final Fantasy is best? And I'm talking specifically about the PlayStation 1 Final Fantasies, which I consider the holy trinity of Final Fantasies and JRPGs. That is Final Fantasy 7, 8, and 9. And we are going to solve this problem. We're going to answer this question with science. I think that's like what the thumbnail or the title or something is going to be. We're going to solve it with science, and what I mean by that is I'm really just going to use like a methodical method to like break it down. Let me show you what I mean. Okay, I'm using this super sophisticated program called PowerPoint to present to you my information today, so there you go. But it's actually kind of crazy to me in putting together this video's material, how we can just look at these games, 7, 8, and 9, and be like, this one's the best. Just in general, this one's the best. Okay, I have here 20 different categories that I've broken these games down into, because all of these games encompass all of these things, but some of them do them better than others. I've got music, opening, ending, art direction, protagonist, weapon, villain, waifu, supporting cast, supporting villains, world, dungeons, magic system, limit breaks, mini games, Chocobo System, summons, Biggs and Wedge, vehicles and airships, and Mughals. There's all these different components, and we need to look at every single one of them to figure out which is truly best. Now, here are the rules of this scientific method that we're going to use. Number one, each category has a first and second and third place winner that I'm going to award. Second bullet point here is the logical thing that you would expect. First place gets 3 points, second place gets 2 points, third place gets 1 point. The game with the highest total points at the end wins. So there you go. And the fourth one is the most important one. It's just my opinion still. So at the end of the day, this really isn't, this doesn't have anything to do with science, right? And here's my true hope. I hope that you guys will be paying attention to this and not what you're supposed to be doing at work or at school. I hope that you guys have an earbud in listening to this while you look productive with your pen and paper, but you're actually just scoring these yourselves as we go, because I would love to hear what your final scores are in the comments below so we can all fight each other. Okay, let's go. All right, I need to fly through these pretty quick because there's a lot of them. But I don't think anybody's going to argue with this first category, which is my one and only cheat category. As you can see, Mr. Nobuo Uematsu-san got all three games got number one because he did the music for all three, and I don't care what you say. It's not open for discussion. Every single one of these games, 7, 8, and 9, despite what you think about the game itself, has a God tier, double S category soundtrack. They're all literally perfect. So literally number one for all. In other words, all three games are starting out with 3 points. Again, I don't think many people will argue with this one. Number two, though, is art direction, which is one of the hardest ones. For me, here's how I broke it down, or how I'm going to break it down, rather. Seven's is very dark, dirty, steampunky, grimy, gritty, which is very cool in and of itself. And then you have 8, which is the exact opposite. It's very clean, colorful, fresh, bright. And then 9 over here is somewhere in the middle where it's like straight out of a fantasy storybook, right? It's fairy tale. You got hippos and ducks walking around. To me, 9 gets number one because it's what I think Final Fantasy should be. 7 and 8's similarity is that they're sci-fi. They just are. And I'm going to give number 2 to Final Fantasy VIII and number 3 to 7. Again, I love all three, but if I was forced to pick at gunpoint, which I am, there's a guy off camera over here you can't see. He's pointing a gun at me. I have to choose. I would put 8 second and 7's third. I just like the aesthetic. Okay, next category, protagonist. I'm going to give number 1 to Zidane. Don't hate me for calling him Zidane. I know it's something like Zidane, but I was a 15-year-old kid. I had never heard the European name Zidane before, so he's Zidane, all right? Fight me. He gets number 1. I really like his upbeat, sort of comical, whimsical personality as opposed to the edgelord of 7 and 8. Don't get me wrong, I love Cloud and Squall. but they're very similar. You 7 fanboys probably hate to hear that Cloud and Squall are extremely similar characters, but their arcs conclude. I think Cloud's arc concludes a lot more fully than Squall's does, so I'm going to give number 2 to Cloud, number 3 to Squall. Squall does end up opening up and, ends up letting people in and kind of getting to a conclusion, but Clouds does that earlier, and I think it makes for a better, more well-rounded character by the end than Squall. Weapon! I have to give number 1 to the Gunblade. It's so freaking unique and weird and cool, and I love it. It looks awesome. It's obviously got some interactivity in the battle itself, where you have to push R1 to pull the trigger. So I like it, but we can't deny the iconic look and really the influence that the Buster Sword had on gaming in general. The big sword hero came from Cloud and the Buster Sword, so I have to go number 2 on that. This is the ultimate weapon from Final Fantasy IX that Zidane gets, but I don't know, man. It wasn't part of the game. They didn't really focus on it at all, so that gets number 3. All right, villains are up next. This one's super easy. Number 1 goes to Sephiroth, of course. Not only is he the greatest Final Fantasy villain and the greatest of these 3, but he's probably the greatest villain of all time. Of anything, ever. Like, he's just so great. He's scary. He's intimidating, he's awesome, but he's also sympathetic. Like, you totally get where his story's coming from, you get his motivations, he's just awesome. By the way, we're not talking about the remake Sephiroth, who's just annoying, we're talking about the OG Sephiroth. I have to give number 3 to Kuja, because he's, like, on the other hand, one of the worst villains ever. I think he's got a really lame design, he's like a cliche anime villain with his dialogue, like, his story's just kind of meh. He's just not a great villain, which then brings Ultimecia to number 2, which I wholeheartedly agree with, by the way. She's a great villain. I know she's not in the game very much, per se, but her backstory and her motivations and stuff, once you understand them, it's really scary. She's very scary. Check out my video above if you want to learn more about Ultimecia and her backstory. This video is long, I'll forewarn you, but it goes into everything about Final Fantasy VIII and why it's awesome! Okay, next. Waifu, this is an important one, but an easy one. Number 1 goes to Tifa. This also is not open for discussion in the comments. Tifa is the best. Obviously, there's 2 really big reasons that most people like Tifa, and I'm with you on that. But she's much more than that. She can cook. She can fight. As a martial artist myself, I really respect the monk side of things. She's hot, yeah, but she can also beat the crap out of you, which is amazing. So that's really cool, and she is so patient with Cloud's nonsense, it's almost ridiculous. Patience of a saint, she can cook, she can fight, she's got everything. She's a total package. I'm going to give number 2 to Princess Garnet, or Dagger, over here. She's a great character too, she's got a really nice story arc. She comes a long way in the game, and I really, really like it. But she's no Tifa, right? And then Rinoa, of course, will then get number 3. I like Rinoa as well. She's a great character, but she's just not as fleshed out as these other 2. All right, supporting cast. This one's tough because I sincerely love almost every character you see on this screen. I'm going to right away give number 3 to Final Fantasy VIII, though, because while I do love these characters, they're just not fleshed out very much. Their backstories aren't really part of the game, like at all. Obviously, there's the whole orphanage thing, which I talk about as well in that video I mentioned a minute ago. But like their personal motivations and like who they are and why aren't really explored, as opposed to 7, where you have Barrett with like Dyne and Marlene. Obviously, Aerith's backstory and Tifa's backstory are extremely important to like Cloud and the fate of the world. You got Cid's like history with the space thing and Shinra. They're just a really fleshed out cast. I absolutely hated, though, Cait Sith, Yuffie, those 2 in the original. I hated them. I proactively did not like them. Vincent is cool, but he was just kind of there. So I feel like the 7's cast is fleshed out, but I didn't like a few of them. 9's has a few throwaways, like Quina, of course. Amarant is cool, but there's not much to go off of there. These guys do have backstories. Freya with Sir Fratley. Obviously, Garnet's is really important. Vivi's is just, oh, so good, and especially where his arc goes. Obviously, that's one of the biggest parts of the game. But I don't know. I think I'm going to give number 1 to 7 and number 2 to 9, just because 7's characters are so well fleshed out, every one of them. I was pretty happy with Yuffie and Kate Sith being a lot more tolerable in the remake, but that's a different story. Supporting villains. We've got all the suits from 7, the Turks, of course, President Shinra, Hojo, Scarlet, like all of these guys. They're basically all just suits. So while these are very good sub-villains, I don't feel like they're as varied as, say, Final Fantasy IX's, which has the Black Waltzes, Queen Braun, Lonnie the Assassin, Garland, right? And then 8's has Cypher, Raijin and Fujin, and Idia, and that's pretty much it. There were not a lot of sub-villains in 8. They're powerful ones for the most part, but there's not very many of them. So I'm going to give number 1 to 9, number 2 to 7, because there is some really, really good, there's some good stuff going on. You can't top Palmer being hit by a diesel truck, right? And then I'm going to give 3 to 8. Okay, opening. This is a big one. Now, if we're just talking opening cinematic, hands down it would go to Final Fantasy VIII. That is still probably one of the best, most hype-inducing opening cinematics of any game in history. But I'm talking about the whole opening sequence, which for 8 would be like the fire cavern. So I'm actually going to give 3 to number 8. As much as I love the opening, and I don't mind the fire cavern, it's good, but it's just a very slow burn. No pun intended. I'm going to give number 2 to 7's bombing run, the bombing mission. It is cool. It's very intense. It's a great opening for a game. But again, just my personal style, I love just the fantasy, whimsical feel of Final Fantasy IX's I Want to Be Your Canary theater play sequence, which starts the game off. It's just so magical. I love it. The ending. Now we're going to jump to the other end of things. The ending. Oh, this one is actually not hard for me. Number 1 goes to Final Fantasy IX as well. It's just the perfect happily ever after ending, while still being realistic. I won't spoil anything here, but there's a very sad thing that happens at the end of Final Fantasy IX. It's notoriously soul-crushing what happens to one of our favorite characters in this game. His fate is very, very sad, but it's also happy. It gives you such a good feeling. It's just the best ending ever. If you watch my recent playthrough of Final Fantasy IX, card above if you want to check this out, when I finished the game, it broke me. It absolutely broke me. I'm going to give number 2 to Final Fantasy VII, because that iconic scene of Cloud reaching out for Aerith's hand, the music, he takes the hand, it ends up being Tifa. He's like broken out of this trance, right? And then they escape the crater, the meteor's about to hit the Earth, and then freaking the live stream comes out, and you see Aerith's face, it's so powerful and amazing. But it cuts off really short, which is not my favorite. 8's, I like the ending as well, especially if you do understand the stakes and stuff going on at the end of the game. You finally get to see our boy Squall smile. Look at that smile. It's a good ending. But I feel good about this. The world. Now, all 3 of these worlds are fairly similar, just aesthetically speaking. 9's has a lot more depth up and down just because of the technology. It could do that where these other games kind of couldn't. But also, all of these worlds are kind of empty. Like, if you think about it, the whole left side of the map of 9 is pretty much empty. The whole bottom half, I guess it would be the right half and the bottom, really, of Final Fantasy VIII is pretty empty. So I'm going to give number 1 to 7 just for being a lot more fleshed out location-wise than the other 2 might be. But it's close. Honestly, these 3 are pretty close in my mind. I do love all the hidden stuff in 8's. Like, you've got the Sentra ruins, you've got, the Deep Sea Research Center, which is really cool. But I think I'm going to go 2 on 9 and 3 on 8. Dungeons. Okay, this one's easy one for me too. 9's going to get number 1. Each dungeon is whimsical and it's different. It has a different music for each dungeon. And they all have a unique gimmick. Like pictured here, you've got the Gargants that you have to feed and jump on top of and run around the different dungeon ceilings and stuff. As opposed to something like 7's, which has a good amount of dungeons, but they're just they're not that varied, and some of them are even really annoying. Pictured here is the whatchamacallit, frick, the ruins that you have to go through, the ancients, the Temple of the Ancients. It's pretty bad, dude. It's pretty bad. And 8 actually doesn't really have dungeons, to be quite honest with you, and they all have the same Fire Cavern theme playing in all of them. It's really weird. So I feel good about this too. Okay, Magic System. Here's where y'all are really gonna hate on me. Go down in the comments, draw your weapons, you're gonna hate me. I'm giving number 1 to the Junction System, man. Final Fantasy VIII gets number 1 for Magic System. I know all of you are gonna disagree with me, but I swear, I just replayed 9, as I mentioned, and I also just replayed 8 quite a bit. And putting the two side by side, 8's is better, man. It just is. It's more customizable. I understand it's not perfect. It can be very, very monotonous, but the control that you have over your power levels is just unparalleled. The creativity that you can have when fully utilizing your junctions and your GF's abilities, it's unmatched. I'm going to give number 2 to 7's because the materia system's good, but it's pretty straightforward, and I'll give number 3 to 9 on this one. Limit breaks. This one also, the number 1 goes to Final Fantasy VIII. The limit break system in 8 is so freaking good, being HP based. It's the perfect balance of feeling powerful but not invincible, because it's a very high risk situation to keep your characters in the yellow so you can spam their limit breaks. But it's so cool, and each one of the characters' limit breaks are different with how they function. It's so much fun. I'm gonna give number 2 to 7 because they're awesome, but you know, you kind of have to ration them as opposed to 8. And number 3 is an easy give to 9 because the trance system sucks. It sucks. It's horrible. The moves aren't that useful. Your bar gets expended really quickly, and worst of all, it doesn't carry over from battle to battle. It's horrible. All right, mini games. Final Fantasy VIII as Triple Triad, y'all. Number 1, hands down. Like, that's all I have to say. No, there are some other mini games in 8, but I feel like Triple Triad's got to be one of the best of all time, of any game ever. 7s are good. You know, you got the snowboarding game as pictured here. You've got the Gold Saucer, other games. You got the motorbike sequence. They're all really cool, but you can't beat Triple Triad. And as opposed to Triple Triad, in 9 you had Tetramaster, which sucked. It was horrible. I don't think anybody really likes Tetramaster, so I'm giving a 9 number 3. There really wasn't many other fun mini games in 9 other than that. By the way, I made a fully playable Triple Triad in real life and made a video about it, and you can watch it up above. It has all the materials in the description of that video to make your own, so check that out. Chocobo System. 9 gets number 1 for me. Chocobo Hot and Cold is so much fun, and it's simple. It's like really easy to follow and understand, but it's fun. And it gives you really satisfying rewards. You don't have to complete the whole thing to feel like you're satisfied with it. You can go as far as you want with it. 8's is an interesting story because, of course, it's tied to the Pocket Station, which never came out in the United States, so it wasn't even fully realized in its final release here in the US. But honestly, I still need to give it number 2. It's kind of just boring doing the Chocobo sonar and zonar thing, or Zynar thing, to find them, but it was okay. You don't need Chocobos much in 8. But the only reason I have to give 7's number 3 is because I hated Chocobo breeding and racing. Dude, it was so miserable. And maybe it's a little bit of a victim to the times where the technology was, but oh, did I hate this so much. So that's what it's looking like for me. Summons. I have to give number 1 to 8 again. They're your pets. Literally, they're called pets in the game. Like, pet stores are where you buy summon items. But on top of that, they talk to you. They each have their own like personality instead of just being hollow, you know, techniques to use in battle. And of course, their abilities are tied to the actual game system itself. They're tied to the story. Summons just mean a lot in Final Fantasy VIII. I'm gonna give number 3 to 9, honestly. As much as I love their designs, you get them so late in the game, you almost can't use them. And until you get that like pumice piece item, I think it is, to allow you to turn on the ability to see their full animations, you don't even see their full animations most of the game, which I know is a welcome change for a lot of people, but I love watching the animations for summons in games, even if they're repetitive. So I have to give number 3 to 9, which brings number 2 to 7's, which I agree with. They're really cool. I'm still really impressed with the summon animations in 7, but like, they're just kind of there. So there you go. Biggs and Wedge. Now you might be confused because Biggs and Wedge don't appear in Final Fantasy IX, but they do. These two guards right here were supposed to be Biggs and Wedge in the original version, but for some reason they ended up not being. And they're only in one scene. It is a very fun comedic scene, but like they're really not in the game, so 9 gets number 3 on that. You have to give number 1 to Final Fantasy VII's Biggs and Wedge. Again, we're talking about the original, not the remake. That's a whole other conversation. But like, they're so good. They're great characters, and of course their deaths are very powerful. So number 1 goes to 7's Biggs and Wedge, which will give number 8's Biggs and Wedge number 2. They're hilarious as well, but they're just kind of there too. Vehicles and airships. Looking at these ones kind of surprised me. I didn't realize how varied 7's is, which is why it gets number 1. You've got the tiny Bronco on the surface of the water, a submarine, a freaking submarine for underwater, which no Final Fantasy to my knowledge has done since. The dune buggy for land and the high wind for the air. It's just such a cool variance of vehicles. It's really, really cool. 8's also has a great variance with the cars and trains you can rent, but like, you know, you don't use those much. Literally a flying city in the form of garden is really cool. But the Ragnarok, dude, in my opinion, this is the best airship on the screen. This is the best vehicle on the screen right here. It's basically a Power Rangers Megazord, which is awesome. So I'm going to give number 2 to 8's and number 3 to 9 because, I mean, they're just not that varied. I mean, literally a lot of them share the same name, Hildegard 1, 2, and 3. The Invincible was just kind of there for me. Design-wise, they're kind of samey, so they're cool, but, you know, not as cool as these ones. So I'm going to give number 3 to FF9 on that. Alright, and then lastly, we have the Mughals. No contest here. Final Fantasy IX gets number 1 for sure. Look how adorable he is. They're the save points. You've got Mognet going on. They're the best designed Mughals in the series history for sure. 7 and 8, they're almost not in the game in both of these. 8's was a hidden summon and also adorable. Like, I like the design. So I'm going to give 2 to 8. But 7's, dude, I mean, look at Kate Sith's robot Moogle. It's ugly as sin. And especially in the FF7 remake, which I know is different, but 7 is just cursed with Moogle designs. They're all terrible. I'm going to give 3 to 7. They're so bad. Okay, that brings us to the conclusion. I went away and tallied up all the scores to present to you here. The results are a little surprising to me, honestly, but not really. I hope that you guys tallied up your own scores throughout the video too. Make sure and drop them in the comments, but let's get to the winner. Up first, we have Final Fantasy VII at 44 points. A very reputable score, honestly. That's awesome. Let's go right into Final Fantasy VIII. Final Fantasy VIII received 38 points. Okay, not too bad, not too bad. It was up there. But what about Final Fantasy IX? Final Fantasy IX scored 41 points. So there you have it. I do find it interesting that personally, for me, my favorite game of these three is 9. And my second favorite is 8. My third of these three would be 7. But you know what? It's science, baby. It's science. I'm willing to admit that on a technical level, because that's kind of what we're talking about here, even though it is filled with my own opinions, 7 is the best. I mean, that's awesome. 7's a fantastic game. I'm very happy for it, for winning this little scientific experiment. So yeah, big congratulations to Final Fantasy VII. It's not a perfect game. It's got a lot of problems, but you know what? It's a freaking masterpiece, and it totally deserves this award, which comes with, you know, nothing. It's just my video on YouTube, but there you go. Drop what scores you guys got in the comments, or even just mention what your favorite game is overall. Have you ever thought about some of these subcategories before? Did this kind of change your perspective at all? Anyway, it was more of just a fun sort of evaluation to do. But either way, hopefully you had fun watching it. I'll see you guys in the next video. Talk to you later. If you enjoyed this little exercise, please consider subscribing to the channel, which would make a huge difference as I set out to hit that 4,000 subscriber mark in 2025. If you want to become part of the community, join the Discord now, tune in for my 3 live streams a week, or become an official member by clicking the join button below this video or on the channel's homepage. And in closing, let's make sure and give a big shout out to all of the channel members right now.